Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. Warm greetings, dear friends. Tonight, I am coming to you from the Carolina Buddhist Vihara in Greenville, South Carolina, where I am visiting for a 1 month period of time. Normally, my home is with the Dhammadharini Monastery in Northern California, in the North Bay area, north of San Francisco. In coming to meditation, most of the time we have come from a day where the mind was very busy with thinking, planning, reacting, ruminating, responding to emotions, responding to many different things that we need to do in order to live and to fulfill the whatever kind of work or responsibility we've undertaken. And then all of this thinking can cause a person to be out of touch with the reality, which is arising moment by moment, and not having enough time to connect with the reality. It's said that a person, this is Lisa Feldman Barrett's book on how emotions are made. She writes that the mind is constantly generating a stream of what she calls predictions or concepts. And then from this never-ending stream, like thousands of predictions coming along every minute, the mind picks the one that's the most likely and makes a test against reality to see whether that concept fabricated by the brain is matching up with the reality coming in by the senses. She writes that babies have a very different ratio, that they spend a much higher majority of their time checking or receiving the present moment reality coming in through the senses, and a lower amount of time fabricating concepts. So you could say that this time of meditation is a chance to have a rest from fabricating concepts and simply to be in the present moment, to be in a simple environment where what's coming up to the senses is not extremely busy, where what we ask the mind to do is pretty simple, and where there's enough room to be present for whatever is arising, whatever's arising in this body and mind. Every person loves to be seen and needs to be seen. There's something that's very affirming and healing when other people, whether it be someone on the street or someone who's near and dear to you, if the other people can recognize you and see and understand what's going on with you. But we can do this for ourselves in meditation. It's like giving a friendly greeting to yourself. Hello, how are you? I would like to know, how are you today? What's it like for you right now? And with that friendly and compassionate greeting, we might in a certain way know what kind of a strategy is going to be the most useful during a particular state of meditation. So if the answer to that question is, I'm very exhausted, dull, drowsy, low in energy, then it can be helpful to choose a more active form of meditation. So sweeping the body and noticing the sensations in the body, going part by part through the body from the head to the toes, is a active kind of meditation. Moving the mind from place to place. If you're doing breath meditation, noticing the sensation of the breath, where that can be noticed on the in-breath, and then at the pause, noticing the sensation of where the hands are touching, and then noticing the out-breath, and then noticing the hands, noticing the in-breath, noticing the hands. That is like actively moving the focal point of awareness between two different places in the body, and it helps one to stay wakeful and alert. But if the mind is very active and distracted, if the mind is filled with many thoughts or many strong emotions that are coming up from the things that are remembered from earlier on in the day, then it can be very useful to just take a more tranquil kind of meditation and just let go of everything except, for example, only the breath. Just labeling breathing in, breathing out, setting the aim or the strategy for the meditation, that other sensations or thoughts that come along will just be left to stay in the background, and we make the effort only to stay with the breath. Or if the other thoughts or sensations that come in are so strong that they cannot be ignored, then to set a limitation on how much time we give to paying attention. So simply acknowledging what's coming up and then coming back to the breath. So in that case, what we are trying to do is not to have some sensation come along, and that sensation leads to a thought, and that thought leads to another thought, and the other thought is leading back to some sensation in the body. And so the mind is like on um, a path of free association going on and on from one thing to another thing. No, that's not the strategy. The strategy is on the breath, if that's the object, the primary object, then go out to something else that is strongly calling awareness, and then come back to breath. And then when we need to, go out again, and then come back to breath. Or if the other thoughts or feelings that are coming up are so powerful and dominating that they've really taken us away from our object of meditation, then all you can do is just mindfully be aware this is what's happening. And just be aware until you are able to come back to the breath. These are strategies that would be suitable for a mind that is more tending towards agitation or distraction. It sometimes can happen that from the beginning of meditation, letting go of the past and future and coming into the present moment, that we reach this golden mean, this delightful balance where the mind is bright and energetic and awareness is able to rest on the object of meditation and just stay there for a while, even for a long time. And then in that case, it's possible to let go of hanging on to some kind of meditation procedure, like pay attention to this, pay attention to that, but just hang with a sort of an open awareness. The main object of meditation, such as the breath, is kind of at the center of awareness, and one may experience different feelings, different states of mind, different aspects of Dhamma, without ever losing that connection to the breath. It's like the breath and a particular feeling is coming together. Being aware of the body and the breath, it's like the body is breathing. So there's not any separation between the awareness of breath and awareness of the body. So when that kind of a state arises, not to get excited about it, but just to, it's fine to just stay there, to stay resting in awareness, being as mindful as we can of what that state of mind is, and just staying with the object of meditation. I'm speaking of the breath as being the main object, so let's sit together for about 30 minutes and do breath meditation. So welcome to come to an upright and balanced posture. Taking a few minutes to arrange the body in a comfortable as possible way. So it's not necessary to move around and adjust the posture during the meditation too much. making that decision to let go of the past and the future and to stay with what's coming up in the present moment. Taking a moment to feel and acknowledge what it's like right now. Aware of the sensations in the body. Letting the attention sweep from head to toe. And wherever there is anything tight or tense in the body, letting the body relax. Relaxing the top of the head, the face, the shoulders, the arms, the hands, the torso, letting the belly be soft, the hips, the legs, the knee, the calf, the feet, aware of the whole body, letting the whole body relax with just enough energy to keep upright and balanced. And if the sensation of breathing is noticeable, aware of that. Seeing where in the body the rise and fall of the breath is clear. and directing the spotlight of awareness towards that part of the body. And from where the breath is most obvious, other spaces where the touch of breath or the motion of breath is clear. Like if the breath is in the center of the chest, there's also a little motion near the shoulders. And in that way, letting the field of awareness of breath to expand little by little. Aware of the entire breath body, every part of the body which is touched by breath. If the mind wanders, just notice what that's like. If we come back to breath, notice what that's like. If we can stay with the breath front and center, notice what that's like. If the breath is in front and other thoughts or sensations are like a shadow in the background, notice what that's like. Just notice how it is, sitting and breathing. Letting the breath and the body to calm down, become more relaxed and more subtle. aware of the feeling. If it's blissful or calm, or pleasant or unpleasant, or tranquil. Breathing in, aware of the feeling. Breathing out, aware of the feeling. And letting any strong feeling to gradually calm down, bringing the calmness to the feeling. And aware of the mind. If the mind is aware of the breath, if the mind has gone somewhere else, if the mind is focused, if the mind is open, whatever the state of mind, calmly aware of the activities of mind, like a mother watching the children at play. Breathing in, aware of impermanence, and breathing out, aware of impermanence. Breathing in, aware of the fading away, the disappearing of the formations in the mind. All conditioned things are fading away. Breathing in and out, aware of that fading away. Breathing in, aware of cessation, the cessation of all the mental fabrications. Everything conditioned comes to its end. Breathing out, aware of cessation. Breathing in, aware of renunciation, not holding on to anything at all. Just breathing in and breathing out. Dear friends, I spoke here a couple of weeks ago, and I promised to come back with some more reflections on the topic of dukkha, or unsatisfactoriness, suffering, unease, stress. Okay, well, dukkha is the first noble truth. There is dukkha. This shouldn't be too much of a surprise to anybody who's awake and looking around. If one looks at your own life or look at the circumstance of the world or look at social relations, you can see that there's a fairly pervasive, inescapable backdrop to our entire human existence. You can see that so many fields of endeavor in human society are attempts to allay or reduce the amount of dukkha. So in medicine or psychology, they are trying to reduce disease, eliminate the suffering of disease, and yet disease is still around. Countries are trying to reduce the death rate, and yet in the end, even when people live long, eventually they die. And their relatives and dear ones may be sorrowful and lamenting at the loss of their loved ones. You could see that in philosophy or literature, that it seems that this puzzle, this problem, why people suffer and how suffering can be allayed. Even if you read a novel that never had any stress in it, where everybody was just calm and happy from the first page to the last, you might not think it was a very good novel. But the writers of fiction are exploring the human condition by taking different circumstances that are stressful and then giving the resolution of that stress. Even in music, I think there's certain kinds of notes or kinds of harmonies that are sort of like stressful, and then those get resolved at the end of the tune or something like that. In politics or political science, we strive to find out how conflicts can be reduced and people can become more harmonious, and yet conflicts still happen. And so a major part of the idea of dukkha in the Buddhist thinking is something called the dukkha of the round, meaning beings are phenomenon. Because of causes and conditions, they arise, they have their existence, and they come to cessation. And there's a continuous flow of this arising and ceasing, arising and ceasing. In the human life, because of the karmic actions of people, of human beings, they go around in the cycle of rebirth. So beings are born, they die. Beings are born again, and they die again. They're born again, they die again. And then the whole drama of existence from the first moment when the baby comes out, and if the baby's alive and healthy, everybody is so happy and delighted, and that baby is in a large way seems to be like a blank slate, and there's so much to do in the lifetime of a child and in development and reaching their potential. And then it could be that little kids look around and they see the older kids, or they see the parents, and they sort of like copy, and they want to be older. Little kid wants what the big kid has, or the child in elementary school would like to is interested in what's ahead in junior high school or high school. And then when you're in high school, you're concerned if you can get into a college or a technical school or what kind of school you want to go to finish your education. And then you would like to get a job. And if you could get a job, you'd like to fall in love and get married and like to create a good life for your family and put a great deal of effort into creating a secure circumstance for yourself and your family, and building up a certain amount of wealth so that you can be okay in your old age, and so ideally you have something to pass on to the next generation, um, and perhaps striving to accomplish great things in one's vocation to realize the potential of whatever gift we have to give something to the world. We nurture and development and make it grow and become great and accomplish a lot, and then we get to um, rest on our laurels in a high position of somebody who's accomplished something. But then uh, life goes on, and we have to be worried about keeping our body as healthy as possible so that we don't lose too much too fast. Um, and taking very good care of ourselves so we can have a healthy and happy um, old age and maybe do something a little bit different in our older years. And then perhaps finally, maybe the final goal of life would be to get into a good care facility in our final years, into a good old age community where we can be comfortable, or else to have people around who can help us when we're older. And perhaps we could have the benefit of having a skillful hospice care when we're coming to the end of our life to death. Or maybe we could say that we would like to die at home and hope to have the circumstances and the right kind of surroundings so we'd be able to die at home. And so, like, out of all of the ambitions and everything we longed for and wished for from the time we were a toddler, looking up and seeing how the older kids and how the family was, and wondering what it would be like to grow up and to be like that, all the way to death. We keep, looking ahead and planning. And if we're really lucky, we can have a good death. And if we don't obtain the goal of coming to the end of the cycle of rebirth, then we can anticipate to be born again. And it's very tiresome to keep going around and around. Even within one lifetime, you could feel that it's very tiresome to have to get up again and just, cook breakfast one more time, or wash the dishes one more time, or be nice to your relatives one more time. Or my mother got completely tired of Christmas. Like when we were, Christmas was like when we were babies. Like it was like the whole most miraculous thing of the whole year was to have Christmas. And then by the time you're 70 or 80 years old, it's like Christmas. Who needs Christmas anymore? And you've tired. You've had enough. You've had enough. But then, if we're in this round of samsara, we got to keep going. We got to get up again. We've got to do the dishes again. We've got to feed our bodies again. We've got to go to work again, or we've got to do whatever our duties or responsibilities are, do them again and again. This is the suffering of the round. Right, there's a lot of suffering, a lot of ways to understand it. Even a child could understand not getting what you want is dukkha. Getting what you don't want is dukkha. Being separated from those whom you love is dukkha, and being in close proximity with an enemy or with one whom you dislike is dukkha, and so on like that. In the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha lays out a particular, like a duty or what there is to be done about each one of the Four Noble Truths. And with respect to the first noble truth of dukkha, he said, dukkha should be fully understood. And then from that full understanding comes the second noble truth, which is about the arising of dukkha or the cause of dukkha. So dukkha, the Four Noble Truths, is a special case of the theory about causation. So everything arises because of a cause. It continues to exist because of a cause. And then when that cause goes away, whatever, it ceases. And so the cause of dukkha is craving or thirst, tanha, and the arising of dukkha because of tanha is the second noble truth, and that cause of dukkha should be abandoned. So we spend a lot of energy directly attacking dukkha in a way which is unskillful when we don't understand the causation. It's like it cannot be obliterated instantaneously. One idea is that the dukkha is the fruition or the result which is happening because of previous causes. And so it's not possible to change something that happened previously. But it is possible to change what's happening in the present moment. So one cannot say, I'm going to eliminate my feeling of remorse by going backwards in time and changing the thing I did that is causing me to be remorseful. So if I did something unskillful in the past, I may suffer in the present moment from internal emotion about remorse or guilt, from fear about the consequences, or even from the actual consequences that I get some kind of punishment, or I've lost some reputation. People disrespect me because of something unskillful I did in the past. And so those results they are what they are. And in a certain way, all we can do is just accept it is what it is because of causes and conditions. And we patiently bear up to those realities while we try and seek to understand what their nature is. I was talking before about all those different fields of science, like most of the subjects that you could find in your college curriculum. In one way or another, it's like almost all of the endeavors of learning or towards learning how to understand suffering and how to relieve or remediate suffering. That's sort of like what drives civilization in our efforts to accomplish something, because we're trying to accomplish for ourselves or for humanity the allayment or the reduction of suffering. So this is in a way why the First Noble Truth is an entry point in Buddhism, because it's something you don't have to be a Buddhist to understand and to take an interest in this. Very often when the Buddha was giving a teaching, he wouldn't start in the middle or at the end. but he would start at the beginning with something that's very easy, just with common sense to understand. So if we've been practicing for a while, we may have had some experiences with how a large part of our suffering is voluntary, and in which we really have choices. We definitely have the ability right now to let go of clinging to things, and when we let go, we experience the relief, the allayment, the reduction of some significant chunk of suffering. So, like if somebody has insulted me or mocked me or put me down, I may be really upset about that, resentful or defensive. I may go into a strong, painful emotional formation about that. But then, if I am able to reconceptualize it, to say, well, this is it's one of those things. It's something that happens. It could be that they're true. That I am what I am, and it's not what somebody wants me to be, and so it's just the way it is. And then just that relaxing and just saying, okay, well, it is what it is. Just saying, oh, this is painful. That in its first step takes away a big chunk of suffering. And then if I can see that, like I'm suffering because of being emotionally reactive to that insult, that's in this example, that emotional reactivity is coming from some kind of clinging to an idea about my status. I have an equality complex. I think I'm equal to everybody, or maybe a little bit more equal than the next person, or at least equal to everybody. And then if somebody treats me as being lower, then I get upset because I'm clinging to the idea that I should be equal. So just let go of that clinging, and that chunk of suffering goes away. And this process of recognizing each time a painful feeling comes along, invariably there's something we are clinging to. Then if we can discover what it is, we might be able to let it go. Or we might want to let it go, but we don't yet know how. And so if we don't know how to let go of that habit, that mental habit that's keeping us on a rack of dukkha, then we have to keep on studying it until we find out how to let it go. As soon as we let go, we will realize the incredible relief, the sense of freedom, the sense of coolness, getting out of a painful and agitated circumstance into something that's calm and free, that's tranquil, and then to whatever extent we can directly experience the freedom that is there for us each time we let go of what we otherwise would be clinging to, then we have realized the third noble truth, which is the cessation of dukkha. And the task about the third noble truth is it should be realized. It should be experienced. So, in a way, something that doesn't exist could be more difficult to notice. Noticing the absence of something. What is that really? But if we train the mind actually towards emptiness, and can notice that something that bothered us before doesn't bother us anymore. Or even if we're in the middle of stressing out about something, and a moment of insight comes into the mind, and the tension just drops away. And then, like the heart can be flooded with just sense of kindness and relaxation. This happened to me one time. I'll tell a story on myself. I was attending the Tipitaka chanting, which is something that's sponsored every year, where monks of many different Buddhist traditions gather together for a weekend and chant a portion of the Tipitaka. This is done in Berkeley, California, and Bodh Gaya, Sri Lanka, and many other places in the Buddhist world. And so then gradually over the time, one weekend at a time, or several weekends a year, at these different venues, the monks from all the traditions are reciting the entire Tipitaka. It's a great, beautiful event. So, but then there's a lot of people, hundreds of people, a lot of logistics, a certain amount of business going on there. So something happened this one time that seriously upset me and made me feel angry. And I was quite out of tune because of anger during that session. And now because of my practice, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in knowing where this came from, what it's like. I'm sort of like mindful with it. I'm aware of the different thoughts that are going through my mind. It's typically that so-and-so always does that to me, something like that. And then we were doing this chanting. And so I'm among approximately 100 other bhikkhus and bhikkhunis doing this Pali chanting of the word of the Buddha. And somehow in not too long of a time, the anger that I had evaporated. And in that case, it was a case of substitution. So the thought I had about whatever it was substituted by thinking of the meaning of the words of the Buddha. And because of that substitution, the emotional thing that was happening resolved. It resolved in a very instantaneous way. And my mind was flooded with a sense of appreciation and compassion towards the person who a few minutes before had been aggravating me. So I was able to experience the first noble truth, the second noble truth, and the third noble truth right there. And when we have that experience, which is available to anybody, you don't have to be a very deep practitioner to experience this. When you experience that and catch hold of it, this is, in my opinion, that's like the preliminary right view, which is a starting point for the practice. And then a person will become very interested in finding out how to go further along this way. And then you would want to undertake the path to the end of dukkha. You would want to go all the way or as far as you can in this lifetime, based on whatever the causes and conditions that brought you to your present moment are, or what the possibilities are. Some people have deep emotional habits, and it could take more than one lifetime to get over them, or it could be done in one lifetime. We could take this whole path and go all the way to the destination. And from having those first three realizations, then comes the enthusiasm for the Fourth Noble Truth. And the task for the Fourth Noble Truth, this path, is that it ought to be developed. It should be developed within ourselves. Now, I want to give you an analogy between the Four Noble Truths and the scientific method. Science, in some of its ideals, is a profoundly ethical and noble type of calling. We know that in other ways it could be sort of just another career or something that's tainted in many different ways. But there's an ideal of science where their aspiration is to discover the truth, a way of putting together concepts which are in accord with reality, or theories that explain reality in a way that can be measured, tested, and proven in an objective way that not just internally, but something that a third party can replicate the same test and get the same result. And so when you have a result that can be replicated in that way, that's called a scientific truth. And then scientists keep on sort of working with that, refining it, doing all the different applications of it, and with more and more testing. And then there comes a time when there appears to be some type of anomaly or some type of phenomenon that cannot be explained by the previous theories. And when this anomaly comes along, this is a creative moment for science, when the old paradigm has to be let go of, and through a process of intuition and creativity, some kind of new paradigms are considered and tested until some different new paradigm comes along that explains the anomaly or the new facts, the new reality that has been discovered and measured. And so in that way, science is always evolving and always changing. So when you talk about like the truth according to science, if you were a student in elementary school or high school, they could have taught you a certain amount of like scientific truths or realities. They could say that the planets go around the sun because of gravity and things like that, and these are scientific facts, and you could I suppose make the whole edifice of what they call science as being a big encyclopedia with many, many pages of facts, or a big deck of cards or something like that, and each card that you pull out of the deck has got some kind of scientific fact on it. But that's not really what science is about. What science is really about is a method of inquiry. And it's following that method of inquiry that allows the person to go to the true heart of the highest aim of what the scientific method is about. And so the Four Noble Truths could be, so you say it's sort of like a scientific inquiry, except that the reality which is being tested is something that is best understood and known internally within oneself, within your own personal experience, which usually others don't have access to unless they have psychic powers and the ability to read your mind. They may not know exactly what's going on inside you, but you know. And if one is developing the path that leads to the end of dukkha, if one is letting go of any kind of clinging to anything at all, which is impermanent, then one would know experientially, directly and experientially, one would know nibbana, really, one would know the end of dukkha. But if you're somewhere along the middle of this path and some pain arises for you, that pain is like the anomaly that a scientist has discovered that is undermining the established theories, which are the consensus of the day. And having that painful experience is your great opportunity to investigate. Here is something that you're clinging to, and maybe you didn't even know before that you were clinging to this. It was something it was kind of like an underlying tendency. You've got a lot of assumptions about the way the world is and how things are supposed to be, and you just kind of like subconsciously assume that it's going to go on and on being like this. And then you find out that actually it's all impermanent and it's not what you thought. And then if you experience the pain, that's your pointer, that's your opportunity to investigate, to discover, and to find out what was I clinging to. And then if you know what you're clinging to, you might not be able to let go of it. You might not yet know how. But if you keep on investigating, eventually you may find the moment that you forget to cling to that thing. And then right there, you experience the moment of freedom. And then if you get those moments and are practicing a lot of red hot mindfulness with that, then you have a chance to try to sustain whatever it is you were doing, whatever practice you were doing that enabled you to have those moments of freedom until instead of the moment of freedom being a little puddle in a continent of dukkha, instead the moments of freedom become like an ocean, and maybe the moments of dukkha are like a small island, and then eventually you're able to let go of that completely, and it's not an issue anymore. So in that way, I really think it's very useful to take the first noble truth of dukkha as being both the entry point to this practice, which is one of the easiest starting points, and also for one who's a traveler on the path who's been practicing for a long time. You've made some progress, and it could be that you're not yet sure like where to go next or how to develop further in your practice. That then, if you can recognize dukkha and investigate, that's the wonderful place to keep developing and keep going with this path. So these are my thoughts, my reflection for you tonight, and I hope that this has been something that's practical and useful. Now I'm going to take a few minutes and answer questions that come up in the chat. I see one question. Dear Ayya, do you have any advice as to how lay people can follow the Eightfold Path with fidelity in a busy life, since the path is the only way to get out of this samsaric mess? Right. So it's true that life is busy. In a certain kind of a way, even monastic life can be busy depending on the choices that people make. Some monastics choose a life of service, and end up having a very busy existence. Other monastics choose a life of seclusion or choose to have a period of time of greater seclusion in order to give that chance for reflection. So when you have the busy life, that means there's a lot of planning going on regarding practical things or worldly things. It's a wonderful capacity that the human being has. There's nothing wrong with being able to make plans. So then, if you can have enough time to do that self-reflection very frequently on your busy life and see whether it's possible. Sometimes a person can be busy in a way that's really wholesome and beneficial. They have energy, they have concentration, they have a wholesome intention of kindness or helping or non-harming, something in that nature. And they are have got like a good conscience and so forth about it. And then at other times, a person may be filled with worry and remorse, self-doubt, doubt about others, criticism of others, anger, hostility, irritation, aggravation, and it depends on like the set of concepts and ideas that we're using to pursue our busy life. So if you have enough time to reflect on a daily basis, to do this kind of self-evaluation and say, the way I'm thinking about my life or the way I'm thinking about the problem, am I thinking about it in a way that's toxic? Or am I thinking about it in a way that's a good medicine? And can I let go of the toxic style and pick up and develop the medicinal style or the beneficial style? It's very natural to have attachment. Parents have attachments to children. Project leaders have attachments to their projects. Leaders have attachment to their followers. Followers have attachment to leaders. And these things are normal. It's a normal part of sort of like a necessary life going around in samsara. That's even a little bit more difficult. But nevertheless, it's possible even when you're holding your infant child to know the verses, uninvited, this child has come. Uninvited, this child can go. This child can die. My love can die. My project can die. And just prepare the mind, whatever good we are trying to do, to kind of be prepared and ready for failure, to be ready for the end, and to be ready to let go. We have a hermitage in our community was given 120 acres of forest, and we were building the little cabins and so forth to go there for meditation. And some consultant wanted to help us, so they gave us a training, and they asked, what do you envision? What is your vision of the future of this hermitage? And one of the members of our Sangha gave the best answer. She said, I envision that this hermitage will be destroyed and come to an end. And you see, knowing that, how much easier it is. And one can do good and be grateful for what's happening in each moment. I do recommend that people with a busy life do take regular time out for meditation on a daily basis, and sometimes getting a day-long retreat, and sometimes getting a longer retreat, and then sometimes having a portion of life when it's possible to let go of those projects and give a more dedication to be away from some of the constant pressure and distraction that's coming from outside. If you can see that what you can do is good, then do it again and again, do it quickly, and do it with energy. If you see something bad, don't do it. And take time, as much time as you need, to purify the mind of the negative, toxic, and destructive habits. There's a question here. What is the difference between renunciation and non-attachment? Renunciation, in the meditation I gave, I translated the Pali word patinisaga as renunciation. That's the last point of the Anapanasati Sutta. And what that really means is when practicing deep meditation, then one's desire for worldly existence can be like as if it's temporarily suspended. And the tendency of the mind to do all that fabricating and planning and so forth is temporarily suspended. And then emerging from retreat and going back to ordinary life, then you very easily and naturally sort of pick up all that planning and clinging. And in particular, when you come to the end of your life, when you really see that actually in reality that all of the fabrications of this life are really coming to an end. They're going to come to an end, and you don't need to pick them up again because your life is coming to its end. Then if you have this patinisaga, it's like not turning back, then you don't have the impulse to pick it up again, which is the impulse which is going to make you get to be reborn into another life. So in that moment leading to death, or in the practice for somebody who knows that they're going to die, which we all could know if we made the efforts to come to grips with it, then we just let go. And then don't pick up again any desires or preferences whatsoever going forward. So what they're going to give me, if anything, for lunch tomorrow, or whether I'm going to be reborn as a noble person or in a heaven or in hell, or whether I'm not going to be reborn at all of those kind of different kinds of ambitions for a different kind of existence is what gets renounced. So that's real renunciation. There's another kind of renunciation which is more focused on renouncing sensual pleasures and renouncing violence and undertaking the simple celibate monastic life, which is also sometimes called renunciation, but that's just sort of like a preparation or a dress rehearsal, or living your life in a way that is perhaps pointing into the pattern of this real renunciation that we are seeking for. So non-attachment is called analayo in Pali language, and it's another term that's really describing the same phenomenon. in a different context. Rick from Indiana, can you share some reflection on the peace that can be found by letting go of hopes and dreams that we have that are no longer an option? Well, I think that nostalgia is one of the most seductive mental habits. And it's a kind of internal propaganda. Tyrants use nostalgia to persuade a society that they can't go forward, that nothing new can be invented, that they just have to put up with what they have. And often they resort to memories and nostalgia about that. So the present moment, even if it's very humble, can be so beautiful, so light, and so free. Dwelling in the present moment, appreciating those bright moments, and even putting a bit of a frame it's like putting a concept around it, is a frame that helps to point the mind towards appreciating the present moment. The hopes and dreams of the past are gone forever. The past is gone forever. The future has not yet come. Only the present moment is what actually exists. And I think read the one beautiful night, sutta number 131 in the Middle Length Discourses, and memorize that sutta, memorize that verse. I'm typing it in the chat. So my suggestion is to memorize that verse about the past is gone, the future not yet here. We should dwell ardently in the present moment and make that into the concept. Make that into the concept that will come to mind instead of some regret about something that doesn't exist. I think this is enough for tonight. I realize I've gone over by a few minutes. I appreciate your patient listening. I appreciate your practice. And I just hope that this has been beneficial and practical for you.